Ladies, gentlemen, and all you pathetic internet trolls out there, welcome back to Fan Fridays, the show where I give outsiders an inside look into the mind of an MLB All-Star. Have you ever wondered who I would pick for a fantasy baseball team? Who would I start with? I got that answer and many, many more right after the break. Let's do it. Let's answer some questions from YouTube first. Question number 1, what was your favorite World Series you remember watching as a kid? And that's easy. It was Yankees and Diamondbacks. I wanted the Yankees to lose so bad because as a kid, they were winning all the time. It was right in the middle of their really dominant run. And I wanted them to lose. They were the evil empire. And the broken bat, the stolen base, the throwaway into center, the heroics of Schilling and Johnson, and I don't know. I remember I didn't actually ever see the broken bat because I was like, I can't watch, and so I turned my head away. And then all I remember is my dad jumping and yelling, "They did it! They're gonna win!" And I turned around and looked, and I saw the ball falling over the drawn-in infield, and yeah, really distinct memories of that moment. Question number 2, what do you think about pitchers using wristbands and coaches giving number sequences in college? I don't see a problem with it. I know a lot of people think it's dumb, but I really don't see a problem with it. It's about communicating the signs to your players. So if there's an easy way to communicate the signs that cuts down on the time that it takes or the possibility that they get stolen or the mistakes or whatever the case is, why wouldn't you? Now, I do have feelings on catchers calling games. I think catchers should call the games. The pitcher and the catcher should call the game together. I think coaches should teach their catchers how to do that and give them a framework by which they teach calling pitches. I think that's important. I think it's really overlooked. I don't think it gets taught nearly enough. It's kind of one of those things. It's like, hey, go get some experience and then you'll be a better pitch caller. And there's not really a structured way of doing it. But as far as wristbands and number sequences and stuff like that, like, if that's an efficient way to do it, do it. I don't have any problem with it. I would be okay with people holding up signs in the dugout with a duck on it, and then the next one would have a car like they do in football or whatever that would correlate to. Like, I don't know. I think it's interesting and it's a competitive advantage maybe if you have less missed signs than the next team. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that. Question number 3, how often are you intending to hit a spot where the catcher doesn't set up? Is this by design or is it to throw off the hitter? There's quite a few times that I actually aim for a different spot than where the catcher's glove is. Generally speaking, though, I like to have the catcher's glove where I'm trying to throw the pitch. In college, I used to look at where I wanted to start the pitch and not look at the catcher at all, so I would cue off the hitter. I'd try to throw a slider at his front elbow, at a righty's front elbow, and I knew it would end up in a different location. But now I like to have a defined location that I'm trying to throw to. So I talked to Tuck and Kurt about where they set their glove. Okay, when we throw a fastball and we go away to a righty, I want it to be here, but with 2 strikes, I want it to be there. And then on a slider, if it's before this or whatever the case is, we talk it all through. The more they catch me, the more they understand what I'm trying to do. We kind of review film together and get on the same page. But I like to have the glove pretty much where I'm trying to throw the ball. But sometimes I just pick a different spot because the glove might not be there, or maybe it's something different that, almost all the time I want to do this, but this one specific time I want to do that. And so there's no real way to communicate that. So sometimes I'm looking somewhere else other than the glove. But the vast majority of the time, it's trying to hit the glove. All right, now for some questions from my fans at trevorbauer.com. Braden Schweer asks, what do you do for the mental side of the game? Meditation, visualization, etc. I don't do a whole lot anymore. I spent a good amount of hours, a lot of hours in 2011 through 2014, really hammering in my mental game. I did a lot of visualization grids. I did a lot of meditation. I actually had to teach myself how to fall asleep because my mind raced a lot, and I would just sit there wired at night for 4 or 5 hours and not be able to sleep, tossing and turning. So I had to teach myself how to turn my brain off. So I have a visualization exercise that I do before bed if I'm having trouble falling asleep. I visualized pitch tunnels and locations of pitches and stuff like that. I developed that with Alan Jaeger. So I've done that a lot. Concentration grids before the game. Reading a lot helps on mental side of things, and understanding that everyone struggles. And so I think once I wrap my head around the fact that everyone struggles and that you can embrace failure as your best learning tool, it made the mental game a lot easier, because it wasn't about today as much as it was about the long term. So I might fail today, but as long as I learn from it and get better from it, I can make that a positive. Whereas I think people get kind of messed up when they're afraid of failure. And so they get a lot of anxiety going into a game because what if I fail? And as soon as I got rid of that, the mental game became very easy. It was go out there and try to embarrass every hitter that you face. And if they embarrass you, that's fine, because I'll learn from it and I'll try to be better next time. And also understanding that you'll never master it. You'll never master baseball. You'll never be perfect every time out. So you have to be okay with the fact that that's not going to happen, and just how often can you, or how consistent can you be? That's really what it comes down to on the mental side of things for me. Did I do everything I could in my power to prepare for the game? If yes, go out there and try to embarrass the hitters. If no, go out there and try to embarrass the hitters, but learn from it so that I don't make the same mistake next time. It's pretty simplified now in my eyes. Let's see. Next up, Hannah Beskin asks, which players would you target for a fantasy baseball team? I don't pay attention to fantasy baseball that much, so I don't know what makes a good player and what makes a bad player. I'm just going to guess that Mike Trout is the best player in fantasy because he's the best player in reality. So I'd probably try to target Mike Trout first. I think strikeouts matter quite a bit in fantasy. Some leagues are different from what I understand. I think wins matter in some, and some are more innings pitched based. And I think I've heard of some leagues that are really just down to the advanced stats, OPS and stuff like that matters. Some leagues you draft an entire minor league system, and they're crazy. But yeah, Mike Trout would be one of them, and lots of strikeouts and not very many walks. So Garrett Cole probably has to be up there pretty high. Guys like DeGrom and Scherzer and Verlander and Mike Clevenger has got to be up there. Shane Bieber had a huge year last year, so he's got to be a pretty good one. I don't know how I would construct a fantasy roster. What's important in fantasy? What do you like to draft first? I know in football you don't always take a quarterback first. There's different strategies to it. In baseball, I think you'd always want to start with a center fielder or a shortstop that's really good, a Francisco Lindor or Mike Trout type of player. I don't know, but if you guys are big fantasy nerds, and I say nerd very endearingly, as I consider myself a nerd as well, but if you guys are big fantasy nerds, let me know what would be the best strategy in the comments, because I haven't spent a lot of time looking at fantasy baseball, so I'm interested to learn. Cole Eisenstadt, hopefully I got that right, but Cole Eisenstadt asks, what is your dream car? I love Koenigsegg's. I think they're awesome. The 1-to-1, the Koenigsegg 1-to-1 is just such a beautiful car. I like the Agera RS a lot. The Regera it's awesome performance-wise. It doesn't do that much for me visually. I like the 1-to-1 and the Ageras a little bit more. The McLaren P1 is up there for sure. The taillights on that car are just so sick. They're like very alien. They remind me of like Alien versus Predator type of the way they're, I don't know. It does it for me. So probably a Koenigsegg or a McLaren P1. And last but not least, Elliot Essick says, what has been your favorite moment from an all-star game, playoff game, etc.? I always say it, Rajai Davis's home run in Game 7 of the World Series was such a great moment. So I'll probably stick with that one. I've talked about it quite a bit, but yeah, I mean, that moment I blacked out, the pressure, seeing one of my favorite dudes, Rajay, just come through like that and have a moment, and I get chills every time I talk about it. Unfortunately, we didn't win because that would have been a great way to win the game, but yeah, that's probably my favorite moment. So anyway, now that I've answered a lot of your questions, I have a question for you, and that question is, who would you like to see me talk to next? Who would you like to see me sit down with? Who do you think is interesting that I would have a good conversation with, or that I could learn something from, or anything like that? Who would you want to see me sit down and talk to? Leave that in the comments below. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm trying to get to 100,000 by the end of 2020. So help me along that goal. If you'd like a shout out in a future Fan Fridays, head on over to trevorbauer.com, sign up for my email list, and submit your question on the homepage. And outside of that, stay healthy, stay safe. Hopefully baseball is back very soon. And thank you as always for watching. I'll see you in the next video.